Hello happy YouTubers, this is Marcelina. Welcome to another episode in our Orchids Care for Beginners series. If this topic interests you, subscribe now and hit the notification bell to see more episodes. Did you do it? Hit it! Hit it now! Alright, let's get to it. In our first previous episode in our Orchids Care for Beginners series, we talk about how to save a dying orchid. In the second episode, we also talk about orchid care after blooming. If you missed one or two of these episodes, I would encourage or recommend to watch them so you will get to see the all episodes in a whole entire series of orchids care for beginners. In today's topic, I'm going over managing water on Phalaenopsis orchids and show you a video clips how I water my orchids, what type of water I provide, and how often I water the plants. But before we begin, guys, let me ask you the following questions. How do you water your orchids? Do you put your orchids in a sink and run through a stream of water until the soilless media is completely soaked? Do you put your orchid in a bucket or in a basin with water and soak the plant for a period of time? Do you give ice cube to your orchid as your way of watering? Do you take your orchid outside and let the nature's rain take its course? Or none of the above? Write your comments below. I would love to hear. So here's my video clips, and I would want you to watch the entire clips. So grab a cup of coffee, relax, and I'll see you at the end. is the video information help? Hit likes and share with friends. All right, final thoughts, guys. So Greg is here.
Yeah, I got a question for you.
Okay.
Orchid's a tropical plant, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so many places, websites and different nurseries, recommend using ice cubes as a means of watering your orchids. Now, it seems to me something so cold as ice would shock the plant and could possibly kill it. Why is ice cubes recommended for watering orchids?
Yeah, that's true. There's so many. Question how to water the plants, and can you water with ice cubes? And there's so many answers from different people, and some of those answers are confusing, especially for the
Let me
people.
hear your viewpoint. I don't care about the other people's viewpoint.
My point of view, you should not water your plant with ice cube. Although it is stated in the tag, you might say that in the tag that add 5 cubes or 3 cubes of ice per week, and sometimes I had that. And you know what? In my 30 years of caring for orchids, I killed Phalaenopsis orchids, the most easy house orchid to grow, and I killed it because of that ice cube.
Oh, yeah?
I followed the direction in the tag, so within 6 months.
Well, I think I have the reason why they recommend doing it that way is, number one, is it melts, it waters the plant very slowly. And number two, it's a pre-measured way of not over-watering your orchid. But I don't like the freezing cold water part.
So don't water with ice cube. And just in general, think about it. If you put the ice in your skin, what will happen? It burns.
It gives me a burn, yeah,
so
it burns.
It's also burn. Although these orchids, they have this white flesh, they call that filament, I think. And that is their way to protect the plant against harsh environment. And if you water with ice cube, it burns the root. And then once it burns, then the plant will be stressed out, and then have the,
I actually think I heard an orchid cry one time when I put an ice cube on it. I heard it cry.
So never put ice cube. And what else? What else do you suggest? I water my orchid with filtered water, because filtered water.
You don't want the chlorine.
Yeah, and also the
fluoride.
Heavy metals found in the tap water. And I tried to water it with sap water, and some of the people would say like, oh, if you water with sap water, you are removing some other minerals. But you have to fertilize it.
You're also adding a lot of salt when you use soft water.
There is also an argument about adding additive to the water. I don't think if that is a good idea.
What kind of additive are you talking about?
Something like I heard some people saying like add additive water, something in the water that they add to soften the water or something like that.
A water softener is using salt to soften the water.
So that is not good to put it in there.
No, your plants don't need salt.
So because orchid, if in general by nature, the orchids grow in horizon, just like that. So they have their way of protecting themselves against harsh environment.
Well, they're usually under the protection of trees that have big leaves and stuff that are sheltering them from direct rainfall. That's why they grow up in the crooks of the trees to be sheltered from the rain and be drowned in the rain from the groundwater.
Exactly. And then, they are protected from direct sunlight because of the filter of the leaves. And also they take humidity from the tree because they like humidity. And
a lot of people think that the orchid is a parasite since it lives up in the tree, that it's draining its nutrients from the tree. And it's not. It's
an epithite.
Huh?
Epithite.
Can you say that again for me?
Epithites.
Epithite?
Yeah.
And what does that mean?
It's an air plant.
Air plant.
They grow on trees, and
it uses the tree for support, but not for nutrients.
No, it's not for nutrients. So because they are growing like that, so the rain will run through. So when you water the plant, so avoid watering on the top, because water will collect into the crown, and you end up a crown rot.
Now I got another question for you. You have a couple different methods, different types of orchids. You have ones that grow epiphytes up in the trees, and then you have terrestrial orchids also. What happens if I grow a epiphyte orchid and I put it in Miracle-Gro potting mix?
it will die.
Why?
Because the epiphytes, they don't need soil. They cannot breathe. They are suffocated, you know, and they are not accustomed to growing in the soil. But there are
these roots here have to be exposed to the air, and when you plant it in soil, people bury those.
Mm-hmm. In fact, this is dry.
Now, do these plants like to be crammed in a small container, or do they want a bigger pot? A lot of people want to put it in a big pot as soon as they get it home from the store.
Yeah, you should repot it if the roots are overcrowded. Once there is a lot of roots, then you have to repot.
But what media are you going to use to put that in a bigger pot?
Well, you know what? That is the problem. So if you guys buy orchids from nursery or from the big store box, my word of advice: know your orchid, and then know what type of media the growers use it, and then duplicate that. Don't add any other media, because you know what media that the orchid is grown in, use the same media. And I showed that in the video clip about the orchid mix.
Now the orchid mix, it has like wood chips and perlite and other stuff in there. Is it taking any nutrients from that wood when there's chips when they decompose, when it turns into compost?
There is an organic,
Is the plant using anything from that? Or is it just for holding it up and holding it upright?
Once it breaks down, then it gives a little bit of nutrients,
So a lot of people like to use the clay balls, the clay-fired balls. Is that not as good as the orchid mix with the compost and the perlite?
Well, it is good because there is a lot of air.
Both of them give a lot of drainage and air.
But your watering might be different. You might have to water more often.
Because your water's going to run right off the clay balls, right?
So your best way, guys, when you take care of Phalaenopsis orchids, ask the growers if you buy from the nursery, because because their environment probably is different from the environment you have. What causes of the orchids to dry out so quickly inside the house? When do you have a constant blow of dry heat? So I would say get a humidifier. So I will place that humidifier below this video.
We've got an awesome humidifier. I'll put a little short video clip in the upper corner and show you how awesome this thing is. I don't think you probably ever would have to water your orchids if you had this humidifier running all the time.
And this is the bottle that Greg bought, and it's a good bottle. So I use it. I filled with the water. You can use tap water, but sit the tap water in the bottle or in the jug for a couple of hours, just to evaporate the chlorine.
I let it sit for 24 hours.
Yeah, 24 hours to the chlorine. Now, a lot of people ask, how often do you water your orchid? It depends. It depends the media your orchid is grown. It depends how dry is your temperature. Orchids are like in between. Loves humidity, because by nature they are depending that humidity on trees.
What humidity do you want to keep in your room where you're holding your orchids at?
I would say keep at least 50%.
50%.
50%. An orchid like a little bit cooler, like cooler at night, and then maybe 80 degrees during the day. So that's why they thrive in the greenhouse. Now in the greenhouse, they probably those people showered or misting, and then all the water, but they have a fan going on like us.
Got to have a fan.
We have our fan.
Wet it and dry
it. Our fan is working 24/7, right?
24 hours 24
a day. Hours. So if you grow orchid, never water.
We have to replace our fan once a year because the other one gets burnt out. The motor.
So what is the best way to, in your opinion, what is the best way to water the orchid? What is the best way? Because that is most questions people ask.
I like the humidifier is one way, because the leaves will absorb moisture through the leaves, and misting with a spray mist is really good too. But if you do give it water, I would say once every 7 to 10 days. And rinse it. I mean, let the water run out. Have it in a pot like the one you have in your hand. Water it and let all the water run out of it. You don't want any sitting water in the bottom
dry
of those
now,
roots.
so I will.
You don't want those roots to be sitting in stagnated water. That's when you see your leaves turning yellow on top. That means your roots are dying from too much water.
I'm going to water this with this.
All over your legs.
I forgot.
Okay, goofball.
I forgot. So this is so cool. Look at that. So I just water in here.
Mm-hmm.
And how I manage watering, I measure my water to a 3/4 to 1 cup per week. But it depends upon you guys. You just make
Yeah,
sure
but you let it all run out though after you're done. When you're done right here, after you soak it like that, you'll take the excess water, dump it out, and then put it back in a dry pot.
Some people will say soak it if it is too dry. If it is dry to the bone, you have to soak it 30 minutes. And if it is your routine, then you can soak like, I mostly soak my orchid 3 to 5 minutes and then drain the remaining excess water. So this is for today, guys, and hope this video help you. And in the next series, what we're going to be talking about.
If you guys have any questions you want me to ask Marcelina in the next video, post in the comments down below, and I will make sure to ask her those questions, because I like playing devil's advocate, asking her the questions. I know a lot of people want to know about orchids. And years ago, I used to try to grow orchids, and I would throw them away after they were done blooming. I was trying to water them like you did every other house plant, and they would always die.
Orchids are
it's a different kind of plant.
But you get to know your orchid. If you are beginning, when I grew orchid 30 years ago, when I was in the Philippines, I had different orchids from different cultivars.
Yeah, yours were wild orchids.
That was a wild orchid, and for me it was a little bit harder because you had to know exactly
you had to
the
copy
habitat,
Mother Nature.
Yeah, the Mother Nature.
Yeah.
And this one here is hybrid, so it is easy to grow. And it was just the besetting that I killed in the beginning of taking care of my Phalaenopsis. I killed, when was that, 6 years ago? I killed 2 Phalaenopsis, beautiful, because I just depending on the ice cube.
Yeah.
So again, no ice cube.
Yeah, we had them sitting in the windowsill in a semi-sunny window.
That was a beautiful orchid.
Yeah, and we give it the ice cubes, and they would always die. Don't do ice cubes, guys.
Okay, springtime, guys, is springtime. So those who are members of Cashier Greens, don't forget to check your plant and get the discount. That's so cool.
That's it.
So next time, I will talk about maybe diseases of orchids, and then introduce the product that we had.
Okay.
So thank you for watching, guys. This is Marcelina, and thank you, Greg.
You're welcome. Later, guys.
See you next time.
Peace.